And I think they're all written. I think everybody else can get pretty much the same experience we did. But there were. I mean, I've been covering this team for 28 years, and they told some stories I had not heard, or maybe I just forgot them because I'm old.
Right.
I got a question for Tim.
Yeah.
You mentioned how good running back looks.
Yeah.
I also noticed that Latavius seems to be a lot sprier. I mean, he last year he just looked almost awkward sometimes when he was running, and in practice today he just looked like he had a whole different level to him.
Well, you remember he didn't really practice a ton last training camp. He was coming off that foot surgery, so that really limited him. And I think it was probably November before he kind of got into a groove and felt comfortable with where he was. Right when Dalvin went down, it was more McKinnon at that point, and Murray was contributing, say, 10 or 12 carries a game. And then all of a sudden, as Murray became a guy that was going to consistently get him yardage and not lose yardage, which, McKinnon was kind of that, might lose you 2 or 3 yards, but has more explosiveness and could gain you the 30 yards. Murray's more that 3, 4, 5 yard a carry back. And, yeah, I think he's looking really good. And you know what? He took a cut in his contract and said, okay, I'll take a pay reduction this year, but you're going to let me out of my contract after this year. And so now he's in a contract year, which gives him a little bit more motivation to be sure that he's putting out a good product. Not that should really make a difference with a guy like him. I mean, he's pretty he's a pretty mature guy. Yeah, he holds himself very self-accountable. So I don't think that's a huge deal, but it's got to be in the back of his mind. Like, okay, if I don't get another contract for 2019 here, I got to put a good product on the field.
Hope he has a big season.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks for being here, Mike. We appreciate it. Good seeing you. Grab a hat for yourself and your wife if you want. We'll get you a T-shirt later if you like. Thank you. Appreciate it. So Marcus Sherrills, he's a fascinating guy in that he's kind of popular with everybody, yet he never speaks. Marcus never talks to anybody about anything, but everybody loves him because of what he's done with his career.
Yeah.
And being a Gopher and starting off, as an undrafted free agent who ends up having this great career. What are his chances of holding on to a job? And then we'll get to another live question here shortly.
Yeah, so actually Mike Prefer, the special teams coach, talked about it today, saying that as things stand now, Sherrills is his punt returner and Hughes is his kickoff returner, which is probably going to stick.
You think so? Interesting.
I think they have so much trust in Marcus, and they should, because he's been so good, so secure. And he can also be a kick returner if something would happen to Hughes, or if Hughes would need to play more on defense and they want to save him for that. So I tend to think probably Sherrills' job is safe, unless Hughes just really looks good returning punts and catching them and making the right decisions. But, this is a team that is so stacked up at some other positions that the threat of having a turnover or a bobbled punt, I think, weighs heavily on them. And they would want to play it safe in that instance, and Marcus Sherrills is a safe, good bet as a punt returner.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Hello.
He's too afraid to ask a question
It's
here.
okay. You can translate for him.
2 quick questions. Kind of jumping on Marcus Sherrills' bandwagon.
Yes.
Is there a veteran or two, Tim, that could be fighting for a job that people are surprised that may get cut? And what is probably the biggest position battle as far as guys fighting for position?
Good questions. Thank you. Grab hats if you like.
I'll give you 2 position battles that are kind of the same thing. The position battle for the nickel cornerback. So is it Mike Hughes or Mackenzie Alexander? And then on the other side, when they're in the base defense, who's your third linebacker? Ben Gedeon actually played really well last year, especially against the run.
Yep.
So that's my guess. But I think they're trying to work Eric Wilson, who was an undrafted guy a year ago, into some more coverage aspects of it. So those are 2 that I'd look for. And then everything on the offensive line is a position battle right now. Veterans who could be in trouble. Terrence Newman doesn't have much guaranteed on his contract. So if you're so deep at cornerback, you'd hate to see that move made, because it's just not a classy move. He's given so much to this organization late in his career. He's a guy that came in and mentored a lot of people in Mike Zimmer's defense. And so I don't think that's going to happen. And another guy that's kind of in a similar situation is Brian Robinson, too. I mean, he's been here forever. He came back because he wants to win the Super Bowl. I don't think he's all that concerned about money. He took a pretty big pay cut to come back. But they're really deep on that defensive line. As that defense gets deeper and deeper with quality young players, it kind of starts to push some of the older guys out. So I guess those would be a couple of the guys that I would look at. And Blake Bell, I think, he's a third tight end that now they drafted Tyler Conklin. I think he's a guy that is definitely on the roster bubble. Those are the guys I would say.
Last week we talked a lot about the museum because we had just done the tour. Let me ask you a really big picture question here. Because, again, we started covering the team when they had really rudimentary practice facilities and locker rooms and really old facility, played in the Metrodome. Everything was just felt kind of downgraded, about the organization. Now they have US Bank Stadium, which is even better than I expected it to be. They have this TCO Performance Center, which is even bigger and better than I expected it to be. Obviously, the franchise is in good shape in all kinds of ways. What's the next thing they could add to this franchise that would move them forward or surprise us? What's out there?
Super Bowl. I mean,
well, yeah. In terms of performance, the team winning Super Bowl certainly is the ultimate sign of progress. I'm wondering though, if we're going to be in an arms race here, where every franchise is trying to impress free agents and have the best facilities and the best stadium, is there anything left with this organization that really needs to be dramatically upgraded?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because I kind of asked Lester Bagley today while I was talking to him. Now that you've seen it, you've kind of seen it in action, is there anything you feel like you wish you would have done different with the whole facility? I said, not at this point. I mean, they can't really think of anything. Yeah. And frankly, I can't either because after touring the TCO Performance Center, you go in there. To me, the most impressive thing is everything that's there for the players. Locker room is huge. They've got a fireplace in the middle of it, and then you walk out of there.
Fireplace in the locker.
I mean, it's massive. It is. It's as big as this whole building and patio
like a s'mores building. Maybe an assistant who handles the s'mores.
I hope so. I mean, it's got to be nutritional.
Dennis
s'mores.
Ryan should handle that.
Yeah, but I mean, then you go outside of there. You've got cold tubs, hot tubs, regular pool. You've got cryotherapy that they can get in there to have the really quick recoveries. You've got like half a dozen training tables, which, compared to their small facility before where they were cramped in there and they had to schedule people to get on the tables and tape ankles and work on them. You have a huge nutrition bar. The cafeteria is all set up with, nutritionists working with the chefs and all that. I don't know what else they could do, to be honest with you. And they've incorporated all the simulators that the quarterbacks can put on and look at everything going on, from reviewing practice film and acting like they're actually throwing passes. I don't know what else is left.
It's funny because we're all kind of shocked by all these developments. We should probably be more shocked that it took this long. Because I remember covering a twin spring training one time, and I went over to the minor league facility because I was going to talk to a prospect. It might have been Torrey Hunter or somebody like that. And they had these guys run around all day, not drinking water, and you know what they fed them for lunch? A Blimpie.
What?
A Blimpie. They gave them a Blimpie for lunch and like a little cup of water, and that was how they gave these guys that they had spent millions of dollars scouting. They spent millions of dollars signing them. They wanted them to make the franchise millions of dollars and win the World Series, and they treated them like, they didn't treat them the way we would treat a high school kid, working out in the summer. So really, I think the aspect where they take care of the players, it's way overdue.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing to me is, you talk to free agents that came in on visits, and they're talking about the facilities and how great they are and everything like that, but they're also talking about the veterans on the team that called them and tried to help recruit them. So it's not only the facilities, but it's the players that have really bought into trying to make it a better team, and it's not always just going to come down to the final dollar.
Right. Yes, sir.
I'm from San Diego, and I was just wondering what you guys think about the Chargers leaving San Diego, going to L.A., can't fill the stadium, blah, blah, blah.
Good question. Thanks for asking.
I don't ever like to see a team leave, especially a team that's been there a really long time. When the initial Cleveland Browns left and went to Baltimore, I didn't like that. I don't mind as much the Raiders ending up in Vegas eventually.
They always felt like a Vegas team.
It really does.
Nobody does.
Yeah. To me, and frankly, how many teams does LA need when I don't know how much they really supported other teams that they've had? So San Diego going, I don't like it. I wish, especially the smaller market, like, New York's got their couple of teams, Chicago, LA's got their team, but I really like a little bit of a small town. Not that San Diego's small, but it's not.
But it's not Los Angeles.
Right, exactly. And so I like the towns that can have their own teams and really rally around it, and that's their guy. That's their thing. So, no, I don't like it.
And, I was an Air Force brat. I moved all over the place. So I lived in two cities that lost NFL teams. I lived in Baltimore, and they lost the Colts, and that was a tragedy. And that was very much like the North Stars leaving Minnesota. Yeah. It was the same kind of thing. And then I moved to St. Louis, and they lost the Cardinals. And frankly, that wasn't as big a deal because that's a baseball town. But the Baltimore thing, if you ever want to get a sense for what the Baltimore Colts meant to Baltimore, go watch the movie Diner.
Talk about the owners.
Well, I mean, that's the problem, is that the owners want to blame everybody else for their problems. But, they could have found a way to stay in San Diego, I believe.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Let's get Tim's final thought. We appreciate everybody who showed up for the show. If you showed up and were surprised that we're doing a show here, thanks for sticking with us. We're going to try to build an audience out here. We do our hockey show at Delano's Pizza downtown. We do our Cheryl Reeve show at Free House downtown. And we've gotten to the point where we really pack the joint for both those shows. We want to do that for Mississippi Pub here. So thank you to Mississippi Pub for having us. We appreciate it. Thanks to Whizkids.tech for all your VoIP and cloud services. If you run that kind of a business, they can help you out. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Again, thanks to Mississippi Pub. I'm going to give out the address again, but it's best just to GPS it. Once you find it, you'll never forget where it is because it's right by the marine. It's right on the Mississippi. It's a beautiful view, beautiful patio. It's perfect weather out here, and they have live music as well as shows like this. 4455 66th Street East, Inver Grove Heights. Their phone number is 651-455-4975. You can follow them on Twitter at The Miss Pub, and also follow us on Twitter, and we'll keep you updated when we're going to do more live shows out here. Tim, final thought for us.
Well, one position battle I missed that we probably should get to a little bit. Daniel Carlson and Kai Forbath going at it for the kicker role. It's not the most exciting, but it can be, maybe the difference between a game or two. And, I've said it before on this podcast, but, to me, it's Carlson's job to lose. He's got the stronger leg, which matters in both field goals and kickoffs. So I think that's probably one to watch as we go through the preseason, which is really when it's going to matter. Once you get into the games and you get a little bit more pressure on you, that's what they've got to see, and that's why I think they're probably keeping Kai Forbath around until they get to that point to see if Carlson can handle. Even though there shouldn't be as much pressure in a preseason game, it's still kind of there, and especially when you have Forbath in the background and you don't know, is this guy going to take my job or not? So that's one thing. The other final thought is try the fried pickles. They're awesome here.
Try the fried pickles. And again, another way to access Mississippi Pub's information, MississippiPub.com. They have patio acoustics, $6 burgers from 11 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, breakfast Saturday and Sunday 9 to 12, the daily happy hour with appetizer and drink specials, private parties, showers, company events, whatever you like. They're open year-round. Their patio acoustics are Wednesday and Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m., Sunday, 4 to 7 p.m. And again, follow us on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and we'll get you the information on the next live show. Thanks to everybody who came out, and we will talk to you next week.